Hey, I'm Jared, and if you've bought the EBMX motor, this is how you install it. Okay, first step, what you're going to do is remove the seat off the bike and unplug this battery. First up, we're going to remove the bash guard from here. We're then going to disconnect all our motor wires, and then we're going to get the motor out. As you just saw on camera, I just broke this little tilt sensor mount. Goes to show that everything goes perfect, but basically this would unbolt from here. So when you remove this plate, just be careful initially, because you will have to unscrew physically this Allen key screw that holds this in. If you've got an X9, this is no use to us anymore, so it doesn't really matter, but if you do want to retain it to ever put the stock controller back on, just obviously don't break it like I just did then. Okay, so you've unplugged your encoder wire here. You've also unplugged a heap of ancillary cables. A lot of these are kickstands and some other signals to the rear tail lights, which we don't have fitted on this bike, but just make sure everything's unplugged. What I would do is I would push this up out of the way, and also any wire that's going to be in your way, and kind of get everything free so it's ready to just drop out. The right path might come when the time is right. Okay, so before you go any further, it'd be good if you can either try to get this off now. If you've got an impact gun, best time to do it before we've untensioned the belt. You might want to get someone to hold the rear wheel for you so this doesn't move, but we're just going to loosen this now, but not take it off all the way. Loosen off all your motor mounts. I want them loose at this stage, so don't undo them completely, because we need to take the tension off the belt first. You can do anything you want. You can do anything you want. So if you're watching closely, you would have noticed that I've undone the lower motor bolts first. The reason why I've done that is when I reinstalled this motor, and even when I took out the old one, I found it really difficult to get this belt actually over this pulley. So you kind of need that swing to be able to physically get the larger belt off this motor. So you need to do some imagination here. Imagine this is the original stock motor. So you want to pull this pulley off, and I found on the stock motor this was quite difficult to do. What I ended up using was a tyre lever underneath this pulley to actually get this off. Now, in this case, this has been off, but basically you're going to remove this pulley. You're going to then put this pulley on your new motor like so. This little piece here, this is called a keyway. These only go in one way, so you notice there's a curved edge. That curved edge, you basically want to insert that in and push it in. Sometimes you might need to hammer it in as well. Put your bolt on, that's a washer, my bad. Now put your nut on, and once again, just leave it loose, because we'll tighten it up once it's in the bike. The other thing you have to use your imagination with, that made a good noise, is these terminal covers. On the stock motor, all you have to do is pull these off, and on your new motor, you should refit these. They do go over. So I think these are an excellent idea to fit these. It just gives you a bit of coverage. It makes sense if anything goes up into the controller that's metallic. It just gives you, yeah, a bit of protection. So that's how you fit them on. Just push them on, and yeah, now we'll get the motor in the bike. So a couple of quick safety things just about this motor in general. This is 4 kilos heavier than the stock motor. You would have already noticed that it's quite heavy when you picked it up out of the box, but I found that using a stand to lever it in position was ideal. Another thing as well is I found that if we attach this side first to the bike and just kind of get 1 or 2 in and get this kind of in position, that then allowed us to then bolt up the other side. So I'm just going to follow that procedure now, and you can watch me do it and hopefully not fail. So this first bolt as well, there's no washer, there's nothing, just straight in. So don't go too tight here, just tight enough to kind of get yourself where you need to be. And remembering the steps where we actually didn't have the motor fitted with the lower bolts, we're going to do that again in a second. This is just there to hold it in place because it is quite heavy. Okay, so you've got one spacer here. This wants to be inserted here. And once again, not tight. Now what you want to do is loosen off this one here. Our motor will drop forward, but we need that to happen so we can do our belt now. So we're going to chuck the belt on, and then we're ready to bolt this one back up. Once you've pushed your motor up, got your belt on, then we go back to this other side, put that motor bolt in. Okay, so new tension to go on. You'll notice that you've got your block here. This will essentially insert through like this. You also have an additional washer. I've got two bikes here, and I've noticed the frame tolerances on the bikes are different. So please note, if you can't get this washer in this section in here, don't use the washer. But if you can fit it, I suggest you do. So what you want to do is keep cranking on this tensioner. It does go in a fair way, and you want to make sure you've got a little bit of movement here. So I'm kind of pushing light pressure, but you can see we've got some enough deflection there. You don't want it super tight until it sounds like a guitar string, but you do want it so it does have some movement still. You'll notice if you do have it too tight that it will squeal and it will squeak, and you'll be able to physically hear it. Just be cautious that you don't over tighten. Now you've tightened all your motor bolts down. What you want to do is tighten this one up. You can hold the rear brake to help, or you can get a friend to hold the rear wheel for you. If you're a bit of a neat freak like me, I'm just going to tape this wire up here. So all I've done is put some test tape around here. I've got my encoder wire just hooked up here. It basically just gives a bit of support. The tape allows the wire to move, just makes things look a little bit neater. Next up, encoder wire, plugging that in. We're gonna do our motor wires now. Just follow the color code on the controller. Blue goes to blue, green goes to green, yellow goes to yellow. Really important here, because you're not gonna have control of the bolts here, is do them up by hand first before you get your tools in there. And then we can get our Allen key through the frame and start doing them up. Looking good? Looking good. Okay, so now would be a good time to bolt this bad boy back on. If you have unbolted it, in my case I've broken it, just FYI to anyone who takes this apart rough like I just did before. Now it's time to put in your bash guard. Okay, so you've checked all your motor bolts, you're happy with all the hardware, and you're happy you've installed everything correctly. Next step is turn the bike, jump in the EBMX app. What you want to do is select XUB-80 as your motor under general settings. The app will then tell you to do an encoder calibration, which will make the rear wheel spin, so make sure the bike is on a stand. Once you've done that, you're pretty much ready to go. On this bike here, what we've got is a 52 tooth sprocket and a 22S battery. This has so much top end with this new motor, just be careful. My wheel set isn't balanced, and the speed wobbles over 120, 130 kilometers is pretty nuts. So do be careful when you're testing this thing, because it definitely is a decent upgrade. Thanks for watching the installation of the XUB-80.